Okay, this is the deck timber that Ron dug up during the dedication ceremony of the Noah's Ark National Park. He was using his radar for the journalists and dignitaries, and they found with the radar, Ron saw this, and he said, that looks like a piece of timber. And he had never been allowed to dig anything up on Noah's Ark. Here's a close-up of it. But when he did, this piece had been broken off over here and had fossilized like this. It's as if God had preserved this piece for that very moment for them to see. And what's interesting about it, the Bible says that they used gopher wood.
Yes.
And we've discovered that this is laminated like plywood.
Yes.
Many thin layers put together, which would make it super strong. So you can see here, right here, that part of this wood has been worn away, and you can see evidence of layering in here.
Yes.
And when you look on the end here, down here, let me see if I can get the light down here. Excuse me, I'm just going to wet it a little bit because you can see the layers better. It's getting dried out, you can't see it, but there's a layer, there's a layer, here's a layer, and this is a very thick layer right here.
Yes. Yes, I can see it, yes. Totally one, two, three, four. 4 layers.
I think that's all we can see right now.
Yes, 4 layers.
But what else is interesting is it talks about it was covered in pitch. You know, he was told to cover it in pitch. And if you'll look right here, you can see that it looks like some sort of a glue substance or something was oozing out here. Like a lady ices a cake, puts frosting on a cake, and then puts a layer on top, and it squeezes out. And so it looks like it was pressed together with maybe bitumen or something that was very, very strong to laminate the wood.
Yeah.
So this would have been the actual end of the timber because this glue was coming out. But the other end, can you...
Oh, this is the glue.
That's a glue substance that looks as if it's coming out, see?
Oh, it kind of flow out.
That's the pitch.
Now, if you'll turn this around and put the other end down here, I'll let you do it.
I know, this is so heavy, unbelievably heavy.
It's very heavy.
You know, how can wood be so heavy?
Because it's fossilized. It's been replaced by minerals. All of the wood is gone. And molecule by molecule, it was replaced with the substance in the soil up above and fossilized it or petrified it. But you can see here, this is not an end piece. This is a piece that was broken.
Yes.
And it fossilized that way.
Yes, yes.
It's a very, very amazing specimen. But how it came to be found was amazing because it was in front of all the journalists and the governors and all of those people.
So, and they allow Ron to, they actually had the soldier dig it up.
Yes, they had the soldier dig it up. And then, as everybody left, the governor of the, that was there, who was the head of the event, he told Ron, he says, you take this home and you have it tested. Because if I give it to my archaeologists here, it'll disappear and we'll never see it again. And Ron put it in the big case with his radar. Because that was very heavy and he could get it out with this in it. No problem. They wouldn't have had a problem anyhow with rocks.
Right.
You know.
Right. So this was sent to the lab?
Yes. Where we have taken slices of it here, but before that, Ron did take it to the lab, and I'm going to give you a book in a minute where I've published all of Ron's data up to the time of his death. And they did test it and found out that it does contain organic carbon. If it didn't have organic carbon in it, then you couldn't prove that it had once been something living. It's got a lot of inorganic carbon, but any organic carbon at all is evidence that this had once been a substance that was organic at one time.
Understand. Oh.
Yeah. Yes, it's
I
amazing.
think it's so amazing that, the Bible, it's like, man, it's right in front of your eyes.
It is.
And God preserved this to such a time like this.
Exactly. The timing was perfect. The
Yeah.
timing was perfect.
And the time is so near. That's why he's, in his plan to reveal it.
Yes. Did you look at this yet? Okay.
Yeah, please,
Okay. Yes. I was there when Ron found this. He was not allowed to take anything from the actual ark itself. That was what he was told. So I think it was in 1990 or 91, maybe it was 91. There were a lot of us there, and we were walking up onto the ark, and there, right off of the ark, not on it, right off of it, Ron saw this. And he picked it up, and he gave it to Delavar Avci, who was his taxi driver.
Okay.
And Delavar just put it in his pocket, and then when they were standing on the ark, Ron took it out, said, "Hand me that," and they looked at it, and it's very clearly a rivet and a washer. Now we've
this is a washer.
That's the washer, and we did have it tested, and it is made out of some space age metals. It's got titanium, strontium, aluminum, things in there that we did not even know how to alloy until the 20th century.
Yeah.
So Noah was not a dumb old caveman. He was he had the wisdom of God with him. Yeah. Pretty amazing.
Luke would tell about this.
Ron made that. He had that made by the time I met him, that model. And he determined the things in it from radar. Now what we do know is that not very much of this structure was really evident, but what he did, when he would find something on the radar, he would assume symmetry. If he found 2 or 3 of those here and here, maybe one down here, he would just assume. So, but he did, the most interesting thing to me is this area right through here. And he found out from his radar that between these rooms here, we'll call them rooms, cubicles, and the outer portion of where the ribs were was an intersection that he didn't know what it was. He thought maybe it was a flotation collar. If it was airtight, and sealed, then the air inside it would have made it more buoyant, in the water. That it would have provided some sort of buoyancy. The other thing he thought it could possibly be was for food. You could have put food down in there, but he didn't know. He didn't know. And he found these little cubicles, this configuration. The front of the boat clearly showed a door here up front.
That's the only one door.
Only one door that they
The
could
Noah's
find.
Ark.
Yes. And it clearly shows inside that door, it goes down and it also goes up. It's a ramp system. So some would have gone down, some would have come up. Now this second deck right here, he was able to find evidence of large chambers here, and he found evidence of small cubicles here,
Yes.
and then this big open space he assumed was, remember how the Bible says there was one window,
Yes.
a cubit round about?
Mm-hmm.
And he didn't know exactly what that meant, unless it possibly meant this was the one window, one cubit roundabout, and it would let. Now, we're not sure about this. This is all speculation. But from what he found, he thought maybe there was something like this here to let light in. But we don't know. Because this top deck was collapsed.
Collapsed.
It was collapsed, and what he did discover was that there was a thickness here, and then it suddenly became thinner here, then it suddenly became thinner here. So he believed that the different decks, this was the bottom, but then this deck was here, and then this deck began there. So, but...
So you said this is like the window?
Mm-hmm.
And you said, okay, so this is one window.
One window, yeah. Well,
one big window.
No. As
Oh.
you can see, it's many,
Many windows.
but we don't know.
Okay.
We don't know. We don't have evidence for this.
Mm-hmm.
The evidence that he chose for that was the fact that there was an opening here, and the Bible says, he says, a window, 1 cubit roundabout. If it was just 1 cubit, roundabout wouldn't mean. What did roundabout mean?
Yeah.
But roundabout implies that it extends some length. So that is speculation. We probably will never know about this because, again, it's collapsed.
Yes.
But
yes.
I guess Randall showed you. Did you show? Okay, Randall, it's your turn because he's going to show
Now, I
you.
have a question.
Oh,
So
certainly.
when the Bible said, when he let the pigeon out,
Yes.
so he was letting the pigeon out.
Yeah,
From-
he had to open a window to let it out.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Open the window. Yes.
The dove.
Yeah. So we don't. We don't know.
Okay.
But now, Randall is going to tell you about the resistivity scans, and Andrew, where did Andrew go? That they did in 2014, because this is exciting.
Wow.
This
So this
does-
is new stuff.
This is new stuff. Nobody's seen this.
Yeah.
It's not on the internet.
Oh,
this
Wait,
is-
what's on the, you can do that here. No
Well,
other
yeah,
box
but
scans
nobody-
NZ.
Yeah.
Pull it up.
Yeah, and I will give you the files if you want them for all of these posters,
Oh, that will be excellent.
because what you can do,
Uh,
they're made to be the size. You have Costco out there.
yeah.
Okay, they're made to fit this size at Costco,
Yes. Okay.
so they're already ready.
Wow.
Now I'm going to turn it over to Randall, who did all this work. There's Randall right there.
I could not recognize him.
Okay, good, awesome. Okay.
Basically, in 2014, John Larson, who's our expert on this resistivity, met us out here with Andrew, and we came out to this site and ran these scans. The blue lines going this direction, the long ways, and then 3 going the other side, going the east and west. And so we had, I believe it was 13 scans run. And each line, it was about every 3 meters, there was
Okay.
a spike in the ground.
Okay.
And we would run each scan, would take an hour and a half, and it's putting down thousands of data points, and it's reading it kind of like it's CAT scan.
Okay.
If you do a CAT scan on the
Uh-huh.
body, you know, it shoots through, and it's something like that. And then he has a program that ties all these scans and these data points together,
Okay. Okay.
so that we'll be able to get a 3D image
Yes.
of this boat.
Yes.
Well, his computer's not big enough to handle it,
Oh.
but he's doing it as he can.
Oh.
And so what we're finding then is that, like for this bottom part of the boat, we have a deck at 3 feet, a deck at 20 feet, and look here at the shape. See the back of the boat here? Look at the shape of the boat, 45 feet deep. See the shape? And then here in the front, you got the shape coming in. So that's the shape of the bow of the boat. Here's the rock it's impaled on. This rock here. It's impaled on that rock. So it slid down the mountain during a volcanic mudslide. And it broke away the very bottom piece, the keelson, like a sailboat. It broke the keelson off and left it up here at the top.
Oh.
And then the rest of the boat, it tore the bottom out of the boat, 120 feet or so, out of the bottom of the boat that's missing.
Yeah. Okay.
And so it's badly damaged in the middle of the boat. But the lower part we're finding is still intact. And you'll see it's got those white areas, we believe those to be rooms. And we have, these are timbers. You know, here we have showing a door and the ramp system. Here is where we hope to do some excavation. This section here, we'll excavate here, and it'll have these timbers
Oh.
showing the deck support timbers. And here they are showing up in the scan. The deck support timbers in the scan. So we got cavities showing up here. We got this black line here. It's the deck timber that's still intact. So in other words, we'll dig down and find a whole layer of that. Whole layer of those timbers for the floor where they walked around. So this is something we hope to do possibly this summer,
Yes.
depending on Erdogan's work that he's voting on next Sunday. If they approve him, then he's going to discontinue the hold that he's got on the country right now and allow us to go ahead and work. So if everything goes well, we'll be able to get our permit back in force. Because we had a permit to do this, and then we had a permit last July to excavate. And 2 weeks before we brought our crews in, they had the attempted coup of Turkey there, and so it put everything on hold. So we hope to have permission to get back in there and do this job.
Okay.
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 You guys got a lot to look at yet.
Yeah.
You wanted to see something about giants,
Yes, giants.
so we're going to start off really big. How's that sound? Here's the biggest thing I've got. Okay, this is a bone on the foot.
Okay.
It's the big toe
Yes.
bone, the very last big toe bone
Yes.
on a foot. And it's been repaired according to the doctor that x-rayed it.
Okay.
It's been x-rayed, and this person had broke their toe bone, and then it healed up. This is from an 18-foot person, estimated. Big toe bone, there it is.
That is this part.
Yeah, your very end big toe bone.
Whoa. Where did you find that?
Where'd that come from, Mary Nell?
Randall, I'm Randall. Ron, I always call you Ron and Randall. Okay, he found that in, wait a minute, let me think a minute. In southeastern Turkey, when he was looking around to try to find the plain where Babel was, and he found that.
Looking for Babel.
Yeah.
Oh,
It's
Okay.
not terribly far from Noah's Ark, you know, maybe 4 or 5 hours.
okay, okay.
All right. So here's another bone.
Oh,
Right here.
yeah.
Another large person. 10-footer maybe or something.
I think this probably, I saw this in the video.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay.
That someone was showing this in.
Okay. You want to do this one, Mary Nell?
Okay, I'll do this one.
You want to sit in this chair?
No, I'm okay down here.
Okay.
Back in about 1989 or 90, I forget which year it was, we were out at, we were in Turkey, and we were out at the village where we believed Noah's house to be. And years ago, they had dug up a grave that we believe was Noah's wife's grave. Now, the reason for that was, and you can see this in the
Book.
Noah's Ark book, Ron had found, before he ever even saw Noah's Ark, he had found a what appeared to be a tombstone. It was actually shaped like a tombstone, and it's in the book over there. In fact, it'll be easier. I'm sorry, let me get it. You can stay.
Just stay right here.
Yeah,
She's going to
stay
get
there.
the book and show
It's
you the
right
tombstone.
here. It'll be better for me telling the story. You can edit all this out. Let me find it here. Let's see. I think we're close to it. Okay. Here it is. His first trip out there, Ron found these stones. This one was standing, and this one was laying next to it. And both of them had these crosses carved into them, which we believe were done by the Armenians that lived in the area, because they were known to do that to all the stones. But what you can't see on here or on here was the engraving. You can see a little of it here. It had across the top of it what looked like a rainbow.
Oh.
And see, this was the cross that was
Yes.
carved on it later. And it had what looked like an ocean wave with a little boat sitting on top of it. And it had 8 people walking away from there. And he didn't have any photographs of it. I took these from 8mm film, you know, very old and degraded. But the faces on there, he said, looked a lot like this. Now, this is something else that we found in a museum. But he said that it had one man, the tallest figure, then a woman, a little less tall, then 3 men walking after that, and they were a little shorter, and then after them, 3 women. And he believed that they clearly represented Noah, his wife, his 3 sons, and 3 daughters-in-law. And that these were the one that is laying down right here. He believed that was Mrs. Noah's grave, because all of them had their heads up and were walking away, and her head was down, and the eye was like a slit with a little cross over it, like she was asleep. And then the one that was standing up had both the man and the woman's head down. So that made us believe that Mrs. Noah died before Noah did. And someone dug up that grave, and there was jewelry in there.
Jewelry.
A lot of jewelry.
Uh-huh.
And it was sold on the black market. And Ron was contacted by the Interpol to find out. I guess they thought maybe he did it, but he told them he didn't know anything about it. But we don't know anything else about it, except that he was told that there was an 18-foot sarcophagus found. and that it was in the museum in Ankara. And the only corroboration I can give to that is one time Ron and I went to that museum. We called it the Hittite Museum in Ankara. It's not a big museum. It's, just average size. And we went in there one day, and there was nobody there but one man who was working. And Ron asked him, he said, I've heard that there's really long stone case been here. And the man says, yeah, it's in one of these back rooms. And he pointed to a room. He says, I think it's in there, but we're not allowed to go in there. And that's all that we've ever been able to find out about that. But we believe that was her sarcophagus. And anyhow, that happened in about 84. And so then in about 89 or 90, we were out there just looking around where the hole for her grave was, where they had dug it up. And we found some bones. And these bones here have been identified by a radiologist and a couple of physicians. None of them want to put their name on their statement, but here is what they told us we have. That we have a human finger with a touch of arthritis. And this is the finger. This is this part of the finger.
It's just 3 bones
It's just 3 bones.
of the left finger,
This, and
left
this.
hand, little finger.
Yeah, they actually identified it as left hand, little finger. I don't know how they could do that. But let's say it's this finger. It's twice as long as mine.
Right.
So
this was in the...
it was just loose in the dirt.
Where they had dug the
Where
grave
they
up.
had dug the grave up.
Paul,
And the jewels
put your
were
hand over
sold
there.
on the market for somewhere around 70 to 100 million.
See, it's this, and this.
Okay, okay.
So that is also okay. I think that's because the flood also drowned these giants, these Nephilims.
Well, they were just people.
Yeah.
They were just people. They weren't any different from you or me. Noah was big. His wife was tall. But look how long they lived. And God obviously changed something in our DNA after the flood. Remember how he talked about at Babel? He said when he came and destroyed the tower,
Yeah.
he said, nothing will be withheld from them if I don't intervene.
Right.
And so it's obvious that mankind was just so bad for him to wipe out the whole planet. He, if you'll look in the Bible at the ages of the patriarchs, their ages were very long here,
yeah.
and then suddenly, immediately after, by the time they get down to Abraham, the ages get much shorter.
Yes.
So
Yes.
it appears like, let's take dinosaurs. Dinosaurs, if you look at a lot of the bones, they are the same animals that we have today, many of them. Only if you have a reptile grows as long as he's alive. He doesn't have a cutoff in his DNA. He continues to grow in size a little bit every year. If you have an alligator that lived 500 years, he'd be as long as this house. And now we have 15, 20 foot, I know somebody found a 30-foot alligator skeleton. But not today, they're fossilized.
Yes.
So apparently man grew larger also.
Okay, but there's also another theory because the Nephilims, it's in the book of Genesis, chapter 6, and those were the giants.
They were people though. They weren't. There's a lot of people who want to say that angels and men bred together. That did not happen. I can guarantee you that. there's a scripture in the Bible that says that there is terrestrial flesh and there is celestial flesh.
Right.
And they don't combine. They don't combine. It talks about, you know, these tall, these big people. There were still a few left. There were still a few people like King of Bashan.
Yeah, Bashan
Like,
and
right.
Og.
There were still a few of them left. And they were just a few of the people, like pre-flood people. They were still large, but we just don't have any left now. You know, but it's just another evidence that the Bible was true. That they were big people. They really did exist. I apologize. I've got one sore back. I went to the chiropractor.
Oh, so that's
I
that's,
keep going upstairs and laying flat on the
yeah,
floor.
yeah.
You see, these are some of the artifacts found on Noah's Ark. Just to show you one, for instance, this one is, of course, stone now. But if you look at it, it almost looks like they were making something.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
it looks like it was making some pins. Maybe they were pouring. Maybe it was a wooden mold for steel pins or something. Anyway, that's came from that site. These are all petrified. This was the top of the boat, and it's lighter color petrification.
Yes.
And you get to the bottom of the boat, and the metals made everything darker when it petrified. These bowls and things you're seeing are copies of some of the things pottery found in the Ark of the Covenant cave and on the dig for the Ark of the Covenant. So these are some of the first temple items, a copy of them that he turned in to the IEA.
Oh.
All right, now let's talk about, remember we talked about the red cap that was found in the cross hole of the WD-40 can.
Yeah. Oh, that is.
This is not the cap, but this is exactly like it. It's the ones that's made in the early 80s. And this cap was found in the cross hole with dirt packed in it where it had been there since Ron. And we think he left it there to show us that that was the cross hole. So this is that type cap. This is the coin that was found. Wow. Vespasian coin. It's been cleaned. So this is a copper coin.
Yes.
We found, we've tested the metal, and it's 100% or 99% copper. Okay, Roman coins that have been poured, like this one, all have a little bit of lead in them. Where they smelt the coin, when they poured it in the lead mold, there'd be a little bit of lead on the coin. All right, this coin, you see how thick it is?
Yeah, it's very thick.
Pretty thick.
Yeah.
It's probably uncirculated, but this coin was copper with no lead, which means it was pressed.
Oh.
A piece of copper in a mold, hit hard with a hammer to make this coin. So this is a counterfeit coin from that time period.
Oh.
It was not poured, it wasn't a Roman coin. This was a counterfeit coin from the early church that was put into that hole. Okay? Here's another. This is a broken nail
Yeah.
that was found. This would be like if it was a crucifixion nail. They would have broke it off. You know, they run it through and then they bend it in the back so it won't come out. So it'd make it easier just to break it and pull it off that way. And this is one of them found on the site. Because we don't know if it was used for Jesus or anyone else, but it was on the site.
But it will be longer than that.
Yeah, the
Just
original
out of
nails
the-
would be, 6 inches, maybe longer, because they had to go through the wood, the hand, the wood.
Yeah.
And then if
Yeah.
it went all the way through the wood, they would bend the back a little bit so it wouldn't pull through. All right, now this is the one of 7 lamps. See how it has the lamb or the ram up on the eating off the bush, kind of like Abraham and Isaac's lamb. It's caught in the thicket.
Yeah.
All right, and here's the other side. Ron originally thought that this blackened substance was where the lamp was burning, and when they closed it in, it left this side burned from burning. We've since learned that this lamp was made from this material. This is just the blackened part is just the type of material that this lamp is made from. Now this is the curious part. This lamp was found in the Ark of the Covenant cave and cave system. But this lamp is a Roman lamp from around Jesus' time. So how did Jesus' time lamp get into this section? We don't know, of course, but 608 BC is when the first temple furnishings were hid. And here we have a lamp. Maybe Jesus allowed the disciples or someone else to see this story at a later time. Maybe that's why the disciples were so strong in what they believed, that they saw that the blood had fallen on the mercy seat.
Say it again, though. Maybe that's why they.
I'm just saying this lamp was a Roman lamp. It wasn't made. We thought it was made in 586 BC, but we've since found that this lamp was made in Roman time, which is more like Jesus' time. So that means that lamp was in the cave system with the Ark of the Covenant.
In the
Jesus'
later
time.
Yeah, I see.
At a later
In Jesus' time. Yeah.
So how did it get there? Except maybe God opened that door over there in the cave system and let somebody come in there and see it.
And this is the
That's a ram, caught in a thicket or eating off of a thicket, standing up on his hind legs. And that's the way Abraham's, the ram was caught in a thicket, standing up on his, his horns were caught in the thicket. That's how they caught the sacrifice.
and the horn. This is the horn.
Okay. So that's kind of the picture of Abraham and Isaac's.
So the ram
God
was
says, "I'll
standing up
provide."
and trying to eat.
God
of
says,
the-
I'll provide the sacrifice.
And then his horn got caught.
Yeah.
Okay.
The
got
ram
it.
was caught in a thicket.
Yes.
So
yes.
Abraham was able to get a sacrifice instead of Isaac.
Yes. Wow.
We said they were drilling holes through the cross holes. Well, this is the size hole that was trying to drill into the Ark of the Covenant cave. This is the limestone material. This is a piece of the material that came out of one of the holes. There were probably over 30 or 40 holes drilled, trying to go down into the Ark of the Covenant cave.
But who drew that?
Richard, and this is what they were drilling. That's why when we found the correct cross hole, we could not tell them. Because we didn't want them to destroy the site.
Yeah. And this looks like a big nail.
Okay, this is when Ron entered the cave system, and when he first entered the Ark of the Covenant cave, the stalactite you see there was in the opening, and he broke it loose so they could crawl through that hole into the cave system. And that's the actual stalactite from the cave system. And it shows the type of material that's in the cave. It's very hard. It's limestone that's turned into this hard substance. Okay? So this one was broke off, and that's how big the opening was. When they broke that off, then the smaller kid that was originally with Ron
ran away or something. Yeah.
he was able to get in, and he came scurrying out. What's in there? What's in there? And he left the system and never came back. So Ron enlarged the hole, and that's when he crawled in January 6th, 2 o'clock, and saw the gold of the Ark of the Covenant and the furnishings in the cave. All right, now this next item is pretty interesting. This whole thing here, if you look at it, this is a pelvic bone with the backbone sticking up. This is the bones of someone that didn't turn to ash completely at Gomorrah. See, they burned up, but they didn't quite turn to ash. They preserved their bones.
Oh.
So that's what's left of someone from Gomorrah.
Oh.
And we have another bone over here in the other case from the same type site.
Did you analyze which part of the body of this bone or from animal?
No, it's human. Well, it's a pelvic bone with the backbone.
Uh-huh.
And everything's there except for the skull. There's no skull.
Like the backbone.
Okay.
Now, the backbone right when it comes off your pelvic bone.
Okay.
在这里了，
Okay.
这边的大骨盆。
See, like this is a bone with the marrow missing. This is another one that burned up. See, the marrow of the bone is missing.
Yeah.
See, this is the bone that was burned at Gomorrah, but it didn't quite turn to ash like those over there. This bone is intact. Of course, this is the sulphur balls
Yeah.
from Gomorrah.
Yes. Yes. Wow, this is big one.
That's a pretty good size one. They found one that was 15 pounds. It's a pretty big stone. And from Babel, we have, he said he'd gone to Babel. Here's a brick from Babel.
Oh.
See the brick? See the hammer? A hammer stone, like if you had a piece of wood in the middle there, strapped like an Indian hammer or something. And then there's some more tools down there. And then here's some more used for, these are probably used for making thread. And then this is a leg from a what do you call it, a foreign god, one of their gods on Babel. And then this case on the bottom is how the pyramids are built. And you'll basically see that these levers, as you turn on each end, the ropes, the arms would move like this. They'd go up, and the flat parts here in the middle, they'd go up, and where the one up here would be moving down, and they would meet together, here and here. And they would change the pegs and just keep moving it up. Just keep moving it up. Just like this back one that you see here is moving everything back up to the top. That's why when you look at the Great Pyramid, it has big stone round spots around the pyramid, and that's what held the base of these big devices. And Ron built one of these, and Japanese TV was on the Great Pyramid showing how these things worked.
Oh, Japanese TV. Okay.
They were there. We have a film of that.
Oh.
And this is kind of interesting.
Yeah. Randall. Again, what is this?
That is a brick from Babel.
Brick. Oh, okay.
A baked brick. See? So Babel was built with these. Okay. This is a example of in Egypt. What's it? Baal? Is that the name of that?
Oh, I
What's
know
the name of the little
those.
god here?
那个邪神的那个。
You hadn't said that.
It's example of Baal, right?
No, it's not an example of that.
What's the name of?
Is that the wife of the Baal, right?
Semiramis?
Semiramis, and then
Sorry. Anyway, it's one of the foreign gods. Okay.
Yeah.
This is one that was, they would bury these. They would put these in the tombs with the with them when they died and that kind of thing. All right, and then this little guy that looks just like him was found right here in Tennessee with a metal detector. Mary Nell's dad found this in Tennessee out in a field with a metal detector. And it's the very same image
Yeah.
that was used in Egypt. Of course, these are examples of the different things in Egypt that you'd find. These are scarabs that have the back has the name of the pharaohs. Has a cartouche on the back that describes who it is. And we know that Thutmose IV was the pharaoh that died in the Exodus. And Mary Nell's done
In the
research
Red Sea.
in the Red Sea crossing.
Yeah.
Mary Nell's done the research with Ron, that 20 years of work, and has determined that the firstborn that died in the plagues,
Yeah.
okay, the 10th, when the firstborn died, the 10th plague, the firstborn of Egypt was King Tut. King Tut was the firstborn that died in the first Passover. That's why his tomb was prepared so quickly, and he wasn't intended to be in that tomb. He was a young guy. You know.
Right.
Let's see, I almost forgot this case. Andrew brought a bunch of this stuff. Okay, Kadesh Barnea, one of the things that Ron discovered was Kadesh Barnea, just like the rock of Horeb where Moses struck the rock and the water came out. Kadesh Barnea is the second place where he struck the rock. All right, this is a pestle, you know, like you have a mortar and pestle, you grind up the spices.
Yes.
This was found at Kadesh a month ago. Just came from Kadesh Barnea. Okay? This bone and this bone are fossilized, corallized with coral, came from the Saudi side of the Red Sea crossing and the Egypt side of the Red Sea crossing. One from each side.
These are human bones.
Human bones. Okay, these are seeds of Elam, at Elam.
Yeah.
These are from the palm trees at Elam. I just brought those back. I've got one planted out here, and we'll see if it's going to grow. This is wood.
That would be cool.
This is wood from the cleft between the rocks on top of Mount Sinai. There's a tree growing up there. And this is the dead limb, part of the dead limb from that tree. And it looks to be a spruce, some type of spruce tree. We thought it was an almond tree, but as we looked at the wood, we found a living one down a little bit, and it was the type of spruce, some type of evergreen spruce type tree.
So this is on top of the Mount Sinai.
Up on, okay, remember where it talks about they put Moses between the cleft between the rocks?
Yes.
But there's a place up there that has two rocks with a tree growing in between them. That it could be the cleft between the rocks. And this tree was growing up there. All right, then these are some rocks that have been brought back from the very top of Mount Sinai. Andrew's been up there, and about 5 or 6 guys have been up there. This is the blackened peak, the blackened side of Mount Sinai. And it broke the rock off. You flip it over, and it's not blackened on the other side.
Right.
See, this side God walked on, burned. It said it burned with smoke,
Yes.
thundering smoke.
Yeah.
This side is your regular side.
Yeah.
So God may have walked on that very place, you know.
Yeah. Yeah, because that top portion, I saw the picture, the top portion was black.
The blackened peak, that's
Yeah.
where that came from.
Blackened
This is
peak.
some more, this one's just a black piece. Here's another one that's blackened,
Yeah. Yeah.
broke it off, and the other
Yeah.
side doesn't have the blacking.
Yeah.
course, there's some more of that. I broke this one off. There's one side. Right here is a piece that Andrew found on top of Mount Sinai. It's a piece of granite that resembles what would be maybe the width and maybe even the type of rock that the tables of stone are made of. It was found just like this, except a little longer, he said. He broke it in half so he could bring it down a little easier.
So you mean
This is a piece of granite
the
that's
10 Commandments were written on this kind of
something maybe similar to something like this. Ron said it was like the rock that was up on top of the mountain, and this is similar. This is similar to the rock that's up there.
I see.
This is a piece of granite from around Moses' altar. There was marble, this piece of marble, white marble, from Moses' altar site, and there were a lot of round pillars and pieces that built a memorial. Solomon built a memorial there for Moses' altar. And this is what that marble's made from. And there's some quarries up on the side of the mountain that have been quarried, that they think that Solomon quarried to get the pieces they needed. This is a small thread found on Noah's Ark.
Right.
A very small thread. When they put the microscope to it, the light from the microscope came through the fiber like a fiber optic fiber.
Yeah, I was going to say this is like
On Noah's Ark. So figure that one out. You know. Here's some wells. We didn't see that. We haven't seen pictures of these till now.
Definitely. Thank you, Andrew.
From
They were just
above
bugging because they were on your
at the
table, weren't
Mount Sinai site. These are wells that are right next to the side of the wall where the water. See, they're double walled,
yeah.
and the water would come through, and they would get their water. Here's the wells along the edge of the lake, and here's the flight up above. You can see the edge of that well, double walled. Big rocks with the little rocks in between.
Yeah.
18 foot in diameter, and that's where there's the line where the water level is, and so the water was like this picture coming out of these wells.
So they camp. These Israeli they came there for.
Yeah, this is the camp area, and actually back this way, the golden calf altar's here. This is the riverbed, like you see here. There's the golden calf altar.
Yes.
Moses' altar is right here. That's what you're seeing here from above. See?
Yeah.
That's the holy precinct. Here's the cleft between the rocks. Remember I told you
Yeah.
there's a tree in between the two rocks? That tree's piece of it's over there.
Do you want to come
This
over
is a
here
cave of Elijah.
and show some of these videos on
This cave is the cave of Elijah
Yeah.
this screen?
on the side of the mountain there.
Oh wow.
And that's right there, and then there's the blackened peak going up
Yes.
to show you where you're at.
There's so much.
And then here's the rock of Horeb, which
They'll have
you're looking at here. Here's a rock of Horeb. And to show you how tall it is, here's a person standing. See?
Yes.
I
Yes.
don't know.
And look how the weathered rock around is just weathered.
Yeah.
And this area only gets a quarter inch of rain a year. You see how it stands up there in the distance. That's a forbidden military zone. Very hard to get into. And here's the golden calf altar with the etchings of the bulls on the side.
Yes.
And this trip we also found, like I was telling you, we found a painting, a red dye from Egypt.
Okay.
This is the Red Sea crossing site
I could put a couch there with a chair
on the Saudi
the
side.
end.
And then, of course, this is where the pillar used to be.
Like we have upstairs.
This is the wadi where when they crossed, they would go up into this area.
Yeah.
This is where the column used to be. Now it's, you see the water in the background.
Yeah.
We've recently found that
You and, Adam might have
they
been
broke the column and buried it.
Adam or Nathan.
And look, here's an area that's been dug up next to it there
Okay.
possibly.
Mm-hmm.
So we're going to scratch through that, see if we can't find the column.
It sure did.
Do you see how that was pointing over here to the side? See that? There's a gold detector. Pointing over here to the side. Okay, and I was going to move over here. Recognize that? Recognize that?
Mm-hmm.
That's the where it's pointing.
The crack.
They're going over. He's standing over the crosshole. He's got silver right now.
Okay.
Anyway, that spot is showing gold and silver readings,
Mm-hmm.
and that's where the Ark of the Covenant is.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Where he's standing.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah. This is the wood floor is.
Yes.
Yeah.
At the garden tomb. There it is. I found it.
I found it too. I just found it also.
Oh man,
All
we're
right.
out. Okay, there's the sword.
Standing by it.
Yeah.
Whoa.
The same. But I have one with Ron standing by it. Or
Yeah.
sitting by it.
Yeah, that's. See, it looks pretty much the same.
We saw that photo online.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's.
Yeah. This one is one that another
one you saw.
man made.
Oh yeah.
We
Yeah.
saw that photo.
Yeah, I
online.
saw this photo in the internet, and there's a drawing of the. Well, anyway, the size of the not the
right.
actual drawing
Right.
of the Ark of the Covenant, but
Yeah.
just to show how
Yes.
the dimension is.
Yeah, those are Jim Pinkoski's drawings, I'm pretty
There's
sure.
Mary Nell holding it.
You know,
Oh, wow.
that's pretty big.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And what I want to say is because in that drawing it shows the width and the height and the length, right? And in inches.
Right.
Yeah. And then
52 inches.
and because there's 2.5 according to the Bible it's 1.5 cube and then
Right.
2.5 cube,
Right.
right? So and I matched that with the archaeological finding of the royal cube,
Right.
the length of the
cube.
royal cube, and it matched exactly.
Yeah, 20.62 inches.
Yeah.
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 Yeah. Yeah. So that was, but Ron told me that the tops of the heads of the cherubim came to about right here. And actually in that picture it shows them at waist level,
Was that chest?
and it's actually, the top of it is more like chest
So
level.
it's smaller there.
Yeah, so they're smaller.
The angels are.
Uh-huh.
The angel is smaller. Okay.
The
Okay.
Bible's dimensions only for the box, not for the angels.
Right,
Yes. Right.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah.
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 So that's really about all the specifics that he really gave about that.
Now, a lot of drawings or a lot of images of the Ark of the Covenant are wrong in the way that the stay is
Yeah.
that is on the long side, right? Not the
Yeah,
short side.
it's
Because
on
a
the
lot
long-
of drawing are
Right.
showing on the
It's
even
on the
Temple
long
Institute
side.
they show it on the short side, the
Uh-huh.
1.5 cube side, which is wrong.
Wrong.
Okay, good.
Yeah.
Yeah, I just want to.
And that way, when it's like here's the holy place, or the most holy place,
Yes.
and
That's the east. This yeah.
right, and so here's the middle, coming down, and the Ark of the Covenant. When it's in here and the staves are sticking out, that means that it's oriented this way. When
East-
when the
east, west way.
when the priest goes in, he had to turn.
Yeah, that's what I believe. Yeah.
Right.
Yes. Yes.
Yeah, the Bible's pretty clear on that, but
Yeah.
it doesn't spell it out
Right.
You have to put
well
the pieces
enough.
together.
Yeah, you
Yeah.
have to put the pieces
Because
together.
like when you sprinkle the blood on the east side,
Yes,
so you know it's on one side of the mercy seat.
right.
And then the verse in 1 Kings that talks about the staves being seen from the holy place.
And we
So
are
you know the staves are going this way.
Yeah, you can see from within and cannot see from without.
Yeah, so because they
Yeah.
were long.
Right.
So using those two verses together, you know that the ark was oriented.
East.
The
Yeah, because the reason why it's on the reserve, the west side is reserved for Jesus.
Yes.
It's because the mercy seat is the throne of
God on earth, and with the east-west orientation, you know, and with the angel's wing on the back, so they actually form the back rest of the throne. So when God sit, you know,
Christ
will
on his
be
right side.
yeah, the west will be his right side, and that make perfect sense because Jesus sit on the
Right.
right side of God.
And it's
And in Bible, right side is always the right side, right?
exactly that's the side you want to be on.
Yeah. The
Yeah.
prominent side,
Right,
you know, the prestigious side, the right side.
Yeah.
You want to be on the right side, you don't want to be right.
Yep.
And so so when Jesus crucified, the one on the right side got saved. The one on the left side didn't get saved.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah. So.
And you know, one way of looking at it is when Jesus' blood went on that mercy seat, it went on on top of the tables of stone, and it showed that was that was the law that Jesus was covering the sins of breaking that law.
Yes.
So, and a lot of people today, and you know this, a lot of people want to say the 10 Commandments were done away with. You know?
Yeah. Well,
And how, I mean, if that was the case.
you know, in the book of Daniel, it actually prophesied that when the Antichrist come, he will change the law. He will
Right,
basically
right. Change
right?
times.
change the time, season,
times
you know,
and
yeah,
laws.
in the law. So they like, he will just want that to be done with.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. So it all has such important meaning. Such important meaning.
Yeah. And I believe that now this is the restoration that to the real
Right.
Word
Well,
of God.
well,
So
we
we're in the
believe-
process of that.
Right. Before it's all over with and we're all, you know, before Jesus comes and takes us with him to his Father's house, he'll have what I believe is that God will have a people on this planet who will have pure doctrine and they will
Yes,
understand
I
the
understand.
truth.
Yeah.
That's what
Yeah, I have that conviction too.
Yeah.
And I see the restoration from
Yeah.
all different phases. For example, the archaeological biblical findings,
Yes.
right? And the understanding of the scriptures,
Yes.
and the restoration to the real Word of God, the authentic,
Right.
Word of God, and also including the feasts, the Moedim of the Yahweh, the Passover, all these,
I believe- yeah, and-
these the true meaning and
The meaning, yeah.
yeah.
And I mean, I'll tell you right now, I don't believe you have to keep the feasts any longer. We can't because all the feasts involved sacrifices. But we're supposed to study them and understand and like
Yeah.
So, okay, I think that we think the same.
Because it's
it's all part of the big picture.
But that's the shadow of the good
Right.
things to come.
Yes.
But in the meantime, out of the 7 feasts, the spring feast, it's a prophetic shadow of his first coming, while the fall feast is to be fulfilled
Right.
for his second
comes,
coming. So there is
right.
it is also a shadow of
Yes.
the good things to come, and that's
Yeah.
why we
Right.
yeah.
And so,
It's
it's amazing. Would you think you'd ever meet any people who think like this 20 years ago?
No.
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 Uh-uh.
No. Now even nowadays it's
I know.
very
Very.
yeah.
I know.
Just a very small
very
portion
exciting.
of but when you start to realize these things,
Yeah.
it's like
I know.
and we like
Your eyes are open,
Open
and
and-
it's like, oh wow.
I was 2 weeks ago I was in Israel, right? And then they show us I think it's like 80 acres of the land that somebody bought, back to like maybe 30, 40 years or 50 years ago.
Okay.
And the reason he bought it is he wants to restore, all the descriptions of the plants that
Oh.
that described in Bible, and he want to
That's cool.
show how the promised land
Yeah.
actually looked like.
That would be amazing.
Yeah, and how the land flow with milk and honey.
Honey.
What does it mean and how is so and we were brought in there and show all kinds of plants and how they all blend together and so and so. And yeah, we learned so much. And to me, it just hit me at that time like, wow, this is another restoration.
Yeah.
You know, to put it right in front of your eyes
Yeah.
what the beautiful Bible land, you know, in the Bible
Right.
talk about.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Wouldn't it be something? It's a return to Eden. you
Yes.
know?
Yeah. Yeah.
That's going to be something one day to get to see all that.
And yeah, and yeah, and they were told like, oh, you know, when God told Moses, the land I'm going to bring you in, it's not like the Egypt. You got all the rivers,
Yeah.
right? And you have to irrigate, and you get water from rivers, and then no,
the
this
dew.
is
God-
this land. God will rain down
Yeah.
the rain and the mildew and the dews
Yeah.
to
Yeah.
nourish the land, and so like, oh, this is beautiful.
I know. I want to be
Oh. Yeah, and they
Right now.
explain like why it's flow with milk and honey. How do you understand that part,
there.
right?
I know.
Yeah, and then the guide was saying that it is such a beautiful land, and all the different plants and herbs and they all grow
Yeah.
there so beautifully, and so that the sheep, because at that time they were still shepherds, right?
Right.
Yeah, and so the sheep, when they see the land, they are so happy.
Yeah.
So they are very happy to produce
beautiful, right.
the milk.
Yeah.
So they will have abundant milk, and then also because the land is so beautiful and the flowers they're so everything's so good. So the honey, the bees
Right.
will come and get all the honeys and abundance of honey, and so just
I know. I can't wait to see the new earth. To see the way.
Yeah.
Woo.
yeah. So that's how I realized that. Wow, now God is restoring
yeah.
all these true knowledges.
Yeah.
Tell us again about this and that.
Okay,
Ah, the
all right.
drugs. That's in the book, but he.
It's in the book, but this is what we call a drogue stone.
Bag.
And it acts kind of like what you'd think of as an anchor, because they would take the rope through the top hole, run it off the side of the boat, and you put a whole bunch of them, and it helps stabilize the boat in the big waves.
Oh,
Right?
understand.
And these, when they got to this one area where we now know it's Noah's village, they cut a lot of these loose, and they landed right here in this village area. And you can see Mount Ararat in the background. This is a picture of Ron Wyatt. And here's another piece that's actually like a piece of bark. It looks like a piece of bark that's petrified. And now we now know that the bottom of the boat had a keelson, like what a sailboat would have. And when the boat originally landed, it stuck in the mud, and the mud flow from the volcano moved it down the hill, and it ripped the bottom out of the boat and ripped the 120 feet section out of the bottom of the boat. And it moved down the hill and impaled the boat on this big rock. And this is what made it stick here on this part of the hill. You can see the mud flow that it came down in. And here's a piece of slag that was in the bottom of the boat for ballast. We have that over here in the case. This piece of slag is a lot of iron. So if Noah needed iron hinges or some kind of metal, he would just take a piece of this, melt it down, put it in the shape he wanted it, and he'd have a source for metal. Metal hinges or tools or whatever they needed.